Peace and blessings is real. First and foremost, I want to take this time and give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh through his only begotten Son, Yahushua, for allowing this word to come out. And I hope you sincere brothers and sisters is edified by this word. And the name of the lesson is called Christ, who we know as Yahushua, drew a line in the sand and made the adultery accusers haul ass running away, man. Cold-blooded, man. Let me say it again. The name of the lesson is called Christ drew a line in the sand and made the adultery accusers haul ass running away. All right. This is going to be a cold-blooded word tonight, man, dealing with adultery. Okay. We're going to come to you in John chapter 8. All right, a very, very, very popular set of scriptures, man. The subject matter, again, is going to deal with adultery. All right, and the thing about this story, man, Yahushua drew a line in the sand, and he made the actual adultery accusers haul ass running away, man. All right, and a lot of people miss some real deep intel on just how Yahushua dealt with the adultery accusers. Actually, it was pretty brilliant how he was able to get them to haul ass running away, man. And the first thing we're going to deal with before we get into the scriptures is the understanding of drawing a line in the sand. All right. A good way of a good understanding of drawing a line in the sand is to establish a figurative boundary that someone or some group refuses to cross, or beyond which no further advance or compromise is accepted. Okay. Another form of drawing a line in the sand is a point beyond which one will proceed no further. And this is exactly the example of drawing a line in the sand that Yahushua's position was regarding the men who caught the woman in adultery. Okay? It was a point beyond which no one would proceed no further with these accusations. Okay? These men wanted to see what Yahushua was going to do by way of puzzling him. These men thought they was going to puzzle Yahushua. They thought they was going to stump him. Okay? The men that we're talking about is the scribes and Pharisees thought that Yahushua would be unable to answer a question or solve a problem because they thought it was going to be too difficult for him. But guess what ended up happening? Yahushua confounded them instead, man. And we're going to come to you starting off with John chapter 8, verses 3 through 5, which is going to be the perfect prelude into the main point. In John 8 and 3, it says, "And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst," verse 4, "they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act." Now look on your screen. This would be a perfect example of a woman not only taken in adultery, but this is a woman that's caught in the very act. Okay, this married woman is with a man that is not her husband. Okay, and this is exactly what the scribes and Pharisees, this is symbolic to what the scribes and Pharisees stumbled across when it came to this woman. Okay, they knew that this woman was green. They knew that this woman was hooking up with a man that wasn't her husband. So they caught her. Okay, they caught her in the act. This is an example of what it looks like to get caught in the act of committing adultery. You see, she was taken in adultery in the very act. And this is exactly what they exposed of the woman, the adulterous woman. Okay. In verse 5, it says, now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. So this woman, due to the act that she was just caught in, according to the law of Moses, she should be stoned as her punishment, stoned to death. But the question that the scribes and Pharisees asked Yahushua, it says in verse 5, but what sayest thou? You see that? So now, this is the perfect prelude into the point. In verse 6, John chapter 8, it says, this they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. Okay? You see that? But Yahushua stooped down with his fingers, wrote on the ground, okay, as though he heard them not. See that? That's cold-blooded, man. Now, when you think about verse 6, it says, this they said, and they would be the scribes and Pharisees, tempting him. In other words, guess what they were doing? They tested Yahushua maliciously. They tested him craftily to put to the proof his feelings or what his judgment was going to be. It says, this they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him, or in other words, they might have to bring him before a judge. You see? The scripture says, but Yahushua stooped down and with his fingers wrote on the ground. So when Yahushua wrote on the ground, it was symbolic to him making figures on the ground, symbolic to all the accusers, aka what he did when he stooped down and wrote with his finger on the ground. He was drawing a line in the sand. Okay, why? Because Yahushua realized all the accusers was just as guilty. That's why it says, as though he heard them not. See, he paid them no mind at this point, and he was ready to confound these accusers. You see? How do we know? Because what do it say in verse 7? So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. You see that? They wasn't ready for that. They weren't anticipating that. You see? He said, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. Everybody that caught this woman in the act of adultery, okay, you want her to be stoned to death. But he that is without sin, then go ahead and cast the first stone at her. Verse 8, and again, Yahushua stooped down and wrote on the ground. This time around, when Yahushua wrote on the ground, his whole point was to make all these accusers disappear. See, when the first time he stooped down on the ground and wrote on the ground, it was symbolic to him making figures on the ground, symbolic to all the accusers. Now that he's posed the question, he that is without sin among you, first cast a stone, he realized when he made that statement, when he stooped down the second time, it wasn't going to be no accusers left that he made on the ground the first time. Cold-blooded, right? And in verse 9, it says, and they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last, and Yahushua was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. You see that? Verse 10, when Yahushua had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, woman, where are those accusers? The scribes and Pharisees that caught her in the very act. Yahushua asked, where are they? He said, have no man condemned thee? She said, no man, Lord. And Yahushua said unto her, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. You see that? So Yahushua drew a line in the sand and made the adultery accusers haul ass running away. Why? Because you got to remember, they brought this woman to him that was caught in the very act. But you know the cold-blooded thing about it? The woman wasn't by herself. This man was with her. You notice the man was not brought before Yahushua. It was the woman. But they both was caught in the act. You see that? So the scribes and Pharisees was being hypocrites out the gate because they should have brought both of them before Yahushua. But they only brought the woman. You see that? They only brought the woman, thinking that they was going to stump Yahushua in the process. But what did he do? They didn't anticipate that he was going to say, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone. See, they weren't thinking about their own situations until Yahushua backed them in the corner. Okay? You can't have shit in your own toilet and you don't flush it, but you go to somebody else's house telling them, hey, you got shit in the toilet, man. You need to flush that. But then your toilet is overflowing with shit, man. Excuse my French. What am I saying, man? They had their own issues going on. So how you gonna judge somebody and want somebody condemned when you was just as green as they was? Yahushua had these fools hauling ass running away, man. Yeah. Cold-blooded, man. What's the name of the lesson, man? Yahushua, Christ, who the world ignorantly called Christ, drew a line in the sand and made the adultery accusers haul ass running away, man. AKA, man, he without sin among you cast the first stone. And guess what, man? When they heard, but they was all convicted because they realized, like, whoa, we didn't think about that. See, Yahushua handled it smooth. He didn't stone her to death, and he didn't okay it. Okay, what he did was he let the scribes and Pharisees see. They thought that they was gonna confound him, stump him with that question, puzzle him with a dilemma of what he's gonna do. Because you got to keep in mind, had Yahushua stoned the woman, they could have sent them up before the judge because they don't believe in stone to death as far as adulterous woman. And then if he didn't stone her to death, then they was gonna say you violated the Mosaic law. See, so no matter what answer Yahushua was gonna come with, they had a counter. So guess what Yahushua did, which was brilliant, by the way? He drew a line in the sand and said, I tell you what, since y'all want to bring this woman to me that was caught in adultery, how about y'all want her to be stoned? Well, let me see how many of y'all hands is clean. You see that? None of their hands was clean. Like I said before, they had shit overflowing in their own toilet, but they trying to expose somebody for the shit that was in their toilet, man. You see what I'm saying? It's cold-blooded, man. I hope you sincere brothers and sisters, man, was edified by this word. We give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, through his only begotten son, Yahushua, for allowing this word to come out. And hey, listen, man, don't get it twisted. Okay, if a woman commit adultery, that don't guarantee that she gonna get a pass. Okay, adultery is very much frowned upon. But in this particular passage, we wanted to show you that adultery, this woman was able to overcome that because it told her to sin no more, aka go back and be loyal to your husband. And the whole point of this was the men that caught her in the act of adultery was just as guilty as she was because they had blemishes on their record. And not only that, they didn't even bring the man that she was caught in adultery with. They were being hypocrites at the same time, man. You see that? Cold-blooded, right? Yeah, man. Already, man. Shalom.